Welcome to another episode of Power Move Makers. This series was created with a simple goal in mind. I wanted to bring forth high-level executives, successful entrepreneurs, and just all-around inspiring human beings. Not just highlighting their successes, but more important, showcasing the road that they traveled to get there. Now, today is part 2 of an amazing interview with Mr. Darkchild himself, Rodney Jerkins. It was so great we had to bring him back for part 2. So I'm going to just jump right into it. Rodney Jerkins, as you guys know, is a super producer, Grammy Award winner, amazing songwriter, producer, musician. You know, this guy's worked with any and every pop-level mainstream success recording artist over the last quarter century. Rodney, bringing you back, but I want to start where we left off because I don't want to miss one piece of your story. It's so amazing. You were talking about Mary J. Blige on part 1. If you haven't seen part 1, please, I'm including a link below. Click on that. I advise you to start there and then catch up to where we are now. Rodney.
Yes, sir.
Mary J. Blige.
Mary J. Blige. So basically, I'm in Virginia Beach with Teddy Riley. Mm-hmm. Down there working with Teddy, and the phone rings and this guy by the name of Hank Shockley calls. I don't know if y'all remember Hank Shockley, but he was a big part of Public Enemy and A&R, and he's just a real dope dude in the game, man. And he called me and said, Mary J. Blige is having a listening session tomorrow night. It was a Sunday. It was a Sunday when he called, Sunday morning. Mary J. Blige is having a listening session tomorrow night at Quad Studios in New York. And at that time, I think that she loved the Gina Thompson remix, The Things You Do. So she was like, that's how she, I guess, discovered me. And she was like, I want the producer to come and play beats. And they were having like a bunch of producers there. And so I went to Teddy and I asked permission. I asked Teddy, yo, listen, man, I just got this call. Is it okay if I go to New York, tomorrow, man? He's like, yeah, go do that. So I literally hop on a plane, go to Jersey, go to South Jersey in my dad's basement. That night, I stayed up all night, Sunday night. And the first track that I worked on was I Can Love You. Then I worked on Share My World. Then I worked on Can't Get You Off My Mind featuring the Locks. I'm talking about the beats. These are all just the beats that I was doing in one night. Back to back to back. And I also did another beat that night. There's a song on the Money Talks soundtrack, the Money Talks movie with Chris Tucker.
Yep.
Mary and I did A Dream Over. We did the song A Dream Over, and I did that track also that same night. So I had like 5 tracks that I felt real confident in. And the next day,
let me ask you before you move on. When you're making these beats, are you in your father's basement by yourself?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So you literally are by yourself. Where does this creativity come from?
I mean, I've always, said that my creativity comes from God. It can't be, I take things in inheritance. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you set up you're supposed to set up your children and your children's children, right? That's biblical. It's inheritance. So if I'm setting them up with inheritance, then that means I must be set up with inheritance from God. Because that inheritance for him, he's the creator of all. So if he created everything that we see around us, then what I do, me making music is a part of that creation. That's how I look at it, right? Yeah, so I inherited this gift from God. So I just feel like, I could do it alone. I could do it whatever because God is with me.
So as you're making these beats in particular, do you hear the lyrics in your head or is it just the music?
Sometimes it depends on what I'm feeling. Sometimes I've always been the person who can write the chorus really quickly. The hooks always seem to come to me naturally really fast. So most of the times if I am working on the beats, I am kind of coming up with a hook right there on the spot. But
before I move forward, and I'm sorry, when you're creating these beats, do you see them in color? Like how do they, when you are hearing them or feeling them or seeing them in your head, however you interpret, Is it visual? Is it a feeling? Is it just a plane, a vibe that you get on?
It's twofold. It's a feeling first, and then it's the artist. Like if I'm working on something specific for an artist, then I'm visualizing the artist, and I'm visualizing what can I do to take them somewhere else. What can I do to add to their repertoire? What can I do to give them something that they can grasp and hold on to and be like, yo, I rocks with that.
Gotcha.
So you got to understand as a teenager getting the opportunity to present music to Mary J. Blige, she's an icon already in my mind. She did her first album, My Life. 411, and she did My Life. So she's already triple platinum here and there and all of that, and she is the in our eyes the queen of soul, R&B, whatever you want to call it. She is that in our eyes already. I'm just a young teenager kid who's trying to get my feet wet, and so I'm like, this is a huge opportunity, so I take it serious, right? And my job always, or what I love to do anytime I get a call specifically about an artist, I love to study. And I love to understand what makes that artist tick and move a certain way. So when I went back and started studying like 411 and I seen that, okay, she had a bunch of break beats. She was taking a bunch of hip hop beats that rappers was rapping over already, and then she was singing melody on top. Okay, My Life is to me the progression of that more so. Like it's okay, maybe not so much break beats, but still sample driven. Right. And then, but her story's starting to change a little bit. Her story's getting a little bit more deeper on the lyric side. So I take that all in account when I'm thinking about what I want to create. And then, and so as I'm making all these beats that night, I know the next morning I go to sleep the next morning, and then I wake up somewhere in the afternoon because I got to get on the New Jersey Transit to do that 2.5 hour bus ride to New York. And when I get to New York to Quiet Studios, I know what I got in my back pocket. Like, you know
feeling good about it.
I feel super, super good about it. Like if you got I Can Love You beat in your pocket, and you got that Share My World progression in your pocket, and you got A Dream in your pocket, and you got those, you kind of have a feeling like, yo, I think she gonna mess with this. I think she gonna mess with this. And as I get into this environment, there's all these producers sitting in the lounge.
Do you remember who was there?
I want to say I remember seeing like Easy Mo B and Malik Pendleton and seeing producers that I don't even know who they were, but she had them there and they probably was there for a reason. They must have been dope, right?
Right, correct.
And as I'm sitting down as the young kid, mind you, everybody's 10 years older than me, if not more, right? Everybody. They looking at me like, who is this young kid coming in the room? I'm a teenager. And I could hear through the walls what music was playing. I could hear it coming through the walls. So when I heard the music coming through the wall, I'm thinking to myself, I'm different. And as I said in part 1 of this, you got to stand out. You got to be different. So I'm sitting, I'm like, okay, I'm definitely different from that.
Stay there for 1 second. Are you hearing their sound and you're saying I'm different, meaning they're coming with samples?
Yeah, like what I mean was, and what I mean by what I was hearing coming through the walls, I was hearing, what I heard was producers playing tracks that sounded like they needed to be on the 411 album, or producers playing tracks that sounded too spot on of what already had came out, whether it's My Life or 411. And so in my mind, when I'm listening to it, I'm like, I've always felt this, even as a youngin'. I always felt that artists never want to keep going. They don't never want to be where they are. When you work with an artist, they want to keep evolving. They want to go to the next level. So you have to try to take them somewhere else, right? So as I'm sitting and listening to things playing through the wall, and the producer comes out and another producer goes in, I'm just like, in my mind, I'm like, my confidence is growing. I'm like, I got this. And it wasn't that the beats that they playing was whack. Nobody's beats was whack. Nobody. These were all great, dope producers, right? Even that kid, I remember that kid, what's his name? Was a Young, used to be part of Bad Boy, Young Blood or something like that.
Young Lord.
Young Lord. Young Lord was there too. I remember Young Lord being in that room because we met. That's where we got
Shout to Young Lord
the first time. Yeah, but I remember like listening to all these producers and listening to the beats, and I was like, nah, I'm different. I'm like, get me in that room. I just wanted to get in that room with Mary. That's all I wanted. I wanted to meet Mary, and I wanted to press play. And so it went around and went around. It got to me. When it got to me, when I pressed play, whoever was outside, I feel bad for whoever was outside because
like you set the tone nicely, but I want to paint this picture the right way. I know you can't remember that day specifically, but in your mind, what number were you in terms of being a producer who went near to press play?
So if there was 8 to 10 producers there, I probably have been like 5 or 6.
Okay, so you kind of knew 5 or 6, what they had in their pocket. By now you walking in, you feeling confident. What is the room? What is the feel? Is it dark? Is Mary in there?
It's Mary, it's Hank Shockley. And I believe Mary's sister was there. I believe Tanya was there, but I know it was Mary, Hank Shockley for sure.
Okay.
And the engineer, of course. But I never heard Mary the whole time. I heard the beats playing through the walls. I couldn't see it in the room, but I could hear it coming through. But I never heard Mary one time. So when I got in there and introduced myself and shook her hand or whatever, and I pressed play, out the gate, I Can Love You. That's the first beat I played. Woo! Mary was like, oh! So I know everybody in the hallways is hearing her scream. I know it, right? So after that beat goes off, she's like, run that back. I play it again. After that beat goes off, I play To Share My World. Woo! Right? So I play that track. I see her lean over and whisper to Hank Shockley. I see it while I'm playing the beat. I play the next beat. Hank Shockley comes up to me after that and tells me, Mary wants you to stay in New York this week. She don't want you to leave. And basically the meeting was over. She didn't want to hear nobody else's beats. She was good. She was done. And I stayed in New York. We went to Giant Studio. Myself, her sister, and we wrote I Can Love You the next day. You know what I mean? Then we did Share My World the following day. Then we did Can't Get You Off My Mind the next day. Then we did A Dream. We remade that joint. Then I went back home. I cooked up another joint with my brother. We cooked up Searching, the Roy Ayers sample. Yep. Brought that back to her. She wrote that joint, and then we recorded that joint at the Hit Factory. So, like, you know, I say that to say, in continuation of what I was saying yesterday, you got to stand out. Like, no matter what that crowd around you looks like, no matter how talented it is, everybody is talented in their own right, and everybody stands out in their own right of what they do. You just got to make sure when the moment is time for you to completely stand out, that you're all the way ready. All the way ready. You can't be trying to get ready. You got to be ready, period. Because that time comes for everybody, by the way. We all get the opportunity to be there. We all get the moment, right? Whether you want to believe that or not, we all get a moment. But if we wasn't ready for the moment, the moment doesn't look like a moment anymore. Time goes by. If we wasn't ready for it, time goes by. We look back and we're later, 20 years later, like, yo, I actually had the opportunity, but I missed it.
So you truly believe, because again, there's somebody watching this. There's somebody going to be listening to this in podcast form. You truly believe whoever we are, wherever we are in our journey, each one of us at some point in our life does get that moment. Now, what we do with it is up to us, but you believe that moment presents itself to any and every one of us.
Absolutely. 100%. Right? But like, scared money don't make money though.
There you go.
You know what I mean? You could be in the elevator with somebody that can bring an opportunity to you. But if you don't speak up, if you don't talk about what you do and what your talent at and your gift is or whatever, then it's gonna keep moving. It doesn't mean someone's going like this. Yo, it ain't like that. What I mean is it's always around. There's always someone or something around that can spark something in someone. If you don't take the initiative, like I said yesterday, to work your faith, right, then it don't mean anything. It don't mean anything. It's you as good as a tree. You as good as a tree, because if you're standing still and not moving, it don't mean nothing. But you got to move like the wind. So you got to know, like, okay, that this is an opportunity. Give me 5 minutes with anybody. If I see any smidgen of an opportunity, I'm going to take advantage of it.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying? Like I'm gonna make it known that this is what I do. This is what I believe I'm great at, and maybe we should do something together. And then let's see where that goes. You know, you got to bet on yourself. Can we pause for 1 second?
Yes, sir.
1 second. Shawn, who gonna believe in you if you don't believe in you?
That's right. That is the message I try to get across with every interview that I do. You have it. I don't care who you are. More times than not, you already have it. But people allow fear. People are so busy looking at somebody else's grass and saying their grass is greener than mine, and they're scared to take that leap of faith or bet on themselves. I'm so happy you're bringing these points to the surface, because it's something that I try to iterate every single interview.
And we just saw, think about it, we just saw Mike Tyson change form in the last couple months right before our eyes.
Absolutely.
Right? And everybody's tripping out like, man, he's 53 years old, he look good. Hey, all it takes for him to tell himself, I need to get up and go to the gym. That muscle memory is always going to be there. When he was younger, he was telling himself that I need to get up and go to the gym. I need to do this. It's what you tell yourself. If I told myself, yeah, man, I'm just lay in bed all day today, I'm gonna watch TV, what's that gonna do? But if I tell myself, yeah, I'm gonna go write me a smash today. If I put that in my mind, right, and that power to have that belief, then that's gonna spark creative juices to flow. You gotta sometimes. David was a little warrior in the Bible, right? David's the one that he killed Goliath with a stone, with a rock, right? And everybody sees the story like, man, if David was this big, and I think he was somewhere around 13 years old, how could he kill Goliath? He must have been scared to death to go against a big giant. Can you imagine? I got a 12-year-old son. Imagine if my son right now had to battle Shaq.
Correct.
Walks outside and Shaq's like, yo, I want to fight. My 12-year-old would probably be freaked out. He'd be scared, right? So let me show you what David's mentality was against Goliath. Peep this. He knew he had God, so he had no fear, right? But here's his mentality. Man, the bigger he is, the bigger that this giant is, the easier the target is for me to hit.
Ooh.
All I got to do is throw the stone and I'm going to hit him. I can close my eyes, by the way. I can close my eyes and throw it and I'm going to hit him because he's just that big.
That's deep. That's deep, brother.
And that's how you got to look at life, right? Life is big. It's right in front of us. All I got to do is react. All I got to do is what I do. I'm going to hit it. I'm going to hit it out the park. You got to believe in you first, though, because if that inner belief is not there, then that's what needs to be worked on. You have to give yourself the motivation and drive. Yeah, I can inspire you. Shawn can inspire you, but you also got to be self-motivated. You also got to be self-inspired.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I will be making that into a segment, just so you know when I release this.
Word.
Okay, so you go with Mary, you cook up classics, what we now know to be classics. Before that, was Gina Thompson your first big hit, or did you have any big?
I had remixes out bubbling. Just so you know, I had remixes. Even Gina Thompson, the remix with Missy, I had a remix to that with Craig Mack and Raekwon. And Mike Diddy. I had remixes even to that. I would go. My father actually kind of started that whole thing. He would tell the record companies, because they wasn't ready to believe in me just yet, to put me in with their artists just yet. So my father would tell the record company, he would like, let him remix some stuff, because he knew I love to take acapellas and make he's like, let him remix. What you got that he can remix? And so I was like I told you, I remixed Patti LaBelle. That's how I got in with Patti. I remixed Vanessa Williams back in the day. Like I would do remixes. I remixed for Puff, no one else. You know, so I had these remixes, and those remixes, though, it created buzz. People internally in the industry be like, yo, this kid is buzzing. And plus my dad, with his crazy self, he put out a full-page article in Billboard about this, basically the coming of this kid from South Jersey. He bought a full-page article.
Your dad literally bought a full-page article?
He bought a full-page ad. He put a full-page ad in Billboard. And it was basically highlighting about this me. It was a picture of me, and it was about this kid from Jersey who was going to change the music industry and take it by storm. That's what it said about it. It said taking the music industry by storm, right? And people at first was like, who are these clowns? Right? Like who are these clowns from South Jersey taking out ad? Let me tell you though, you gotta be real bold to do that. You better back it up. That's right. That belief that he had in me, you know what I'm saying? I just had to go and work hard to back it up, but it also created more buzz. It created more because people then started to see me, and they'd be like, hold on, was you that kid that was in the Billboard? Yeah, that's me. And they put two to two together, and so Mary J. Blige to me was my first, outside of it was my first top 10 record. You know what I'm saying? That was my first top 10.
That was the one that solidified you.
That was it.
Yeah, like A&R's, record execs are like, okay, we can bet on this kid right now. We can put him in with our major artists. I might have had one other record out before Mary J. I want to say I might have had like Joe Don't Want to Be a Player or something like that. It was either before or after, around the same time, put it like that. And Joe went to number 4 R&B, and Mary went to number 2 R&B. Wow. So I had two that was bubbling. So now they starting to pay attention a little bit, like, you know. And you got to remember who you work with helps make you, right? So if you're working with a new artist, it's dope, and you doing well, that gives you that buzz. But when you're working with an established artist that worked with Puff and worked with all these big producers, and she's betting on you, and you do well, then they start to have trust that you can work with bigger artists. Okay, I want to move this along a little bit. Tell me 2 artists in particular. Where does Brandy fit in the picture? Because you had massive success with her. And also, on part 1, you spoke about Michael Jackson, but we didn't get to dive deep. Is Michael Jackson in the picture at this point?
Nope.
He's not in the picture. Okay,
I met him when I was 17 years old with Teddy Riley.
Yep.
Riley, I met him, but I didn't work with him yet. Brandy's next. So Mary J. Blige jumps off Brandy because Paris Davis, who was the A&R at Atlantic Records at the time, he heard my Mary stuff and he liked my Mary stuff. So he got a hold of me and asked me would I meet with Brandy. So I'm in LA, and we at this hot spot back in the day called George's.
Yep.
Me and my team used to go there every Friday night. And we there at George's, and Brandy comes there to meet us, and it's loud, it was loud. So Brandy was like, let's go somewhere, let's go to Jerry's Deli. So we left George's and we went to Jerry's Deli, and just talking about her music, and I just started telling her where I would take her. Now, mind you, Brandy came off of I Want to Be Down. Yep. She was like 4 million sold. She was killing it. And she was young and vibrant, and just, she was the new young girl on the scene tearing it up. And I'm here, I'm young, but I'm confident, man. I'm just like, oh, I would do this with you. I would take you here. Like, I would take you much more global. I would take you more. I'm just saying these things. And she probably looking at me, this dude was crazy. And she's like, all right, well, let's get in the studio then. That's what she said. She's like, all right, well, let's get in the studio then. So the next day we booked Paramount Studios in LA, and we worked 5 days in a row. And all 5 of those records was on the Never Say Never album.
All 5?
All 5. All 5 made the album. Now, I want to say like one of the first ones was Never Say Never, and Angel in Disguise, Learn a Hard. All these made the record. And we got into a rhythm, and I told Brandy, I was like, you should let me executive produce your album. She let me, and
so she was like yourself right now.
Yeah, I don't know if I was just confident, man. I believe that when chemistry is, you'll know it from day one. If you get in the studio and the vibe is right, then just keep going. Why stop it? And so
stop on that point for a second.
Okay.
You spoke about chemistry. You have worked with all types of artists. Spice Girls, Beyonce, Destiny's Child, Lady Gaga, just to name a few. How soon, when you get in front of them, you guys are vibing, do you know I have chemistry here or not?
Sometimes I can tell. I can know it from an initial meeting.
Really?
I can know it from an initial meeting. Like, okay, I can be in the meeting and know, yo, this is gonna be special.
Okay, is there ever a time when you didn't think that you had chemistry and got in the studio and realized?
More times than I had, way more times than I felt I had chemistry. Way more times.
Wow.
Way more times. Way more times. And it's funny, right? I just sent a message to Mary J. Blige like 2 weeks ago. I just sent a message and said, my only regret in my whole career is not being able to produce a full album with you. Because I know our chemistry was right, and I know spiritually we're connected. And that's my only regret, is not doing a full album with you, because I know it would have been special.
Wow. Wow.
And so going back to Brandy, right? So it's kind of, you just feel it. The rhythm is right. 5 days in a row, 5 records. I created a concept for it, right? I said, we're going to make this a cliche album. So we went and bought a cliche book. And that's where you get the titles like Never Say Never, Learn the Hard Way. I put that on everything. All of these are cliches.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's how that came to life. And then I convinced her to let me executive produce it. I'm like, yo, like, let me executive produce this joint with you. And Paris Davis, and, you know, he fought for me at the label because I was just a new kid, so the label wasn't fully into me yet. They didn't know who I was. They didn't see the #1 next to my name yet. You know what I'm saying? But Paris Davis went to bat for me. He fought behind closed doors, some serious wars, like some serious wars, and had my back. And I was then allowed to executive produce the project along with Paris and Craig Kalman. And we pushed, and Paris Davis pushed me, and we pushed each other, and we pushed Brandy. And by the time, I never forget, by the time the project was getting close to the end, I was in New Jersey, again, sitting on my dad's piano at his house, and I was playing this melody, and my father came in, he said, where's my tape recorder? Where's my tape recorder? He grabbed his tape recorder. That's a hit. And he knew how fast I was. Like, that's the only, probably the downside of me, is I create so fast, I'll just move on to another idea. Like, sometimes I don't stay on it. I'll just keep playing. But he was like, you got to go work on that. I know that's a hit. So I took it down to the basement, and that was The Boy's Mind. And The Boy's Mind was this idea that myself and Paris Davis came up with, that, whoa, what if Monica and Brandy did a record together? Because the rumor in the industry was they don't like each other.
Correct.
You know, the young girls tension against each other, fighting for those spots. So we put them on the same record, right? That could be something even historical and special. And so Paris went and did his thing and made it happen and got Monica on the record. And all I know is when it entered the Billboard charts, it was number 27 on the overall charts. And the next morning I woke up to check where it was at. It was #1.
So that's your first #1.
First #1.
And that stayed on the charts for what?
And it jumped over my mentor, because Teddy was #2. Teddy had the remix to I Get So Lonely out by Janet, which was #2. And The Boy's Mind jumped over that. You know, sorry, Teddy, sorry, Janet, I love y'all both. But it jumped over that, not allowing it to go #1. And when it went #1, the thing about getting a #1 is you feel different, because you reached the top. You made it to the goal, right? Don't Want to Be a Player didn't get there. I Can Love You didn't get there. And this is the next one coming out. So you like, I hope this one, and then it gets there. Getting there doesn't mean anything. Let me make this very clear to producers.
Yes, elaborate, please.
Getting there, yes, celebrate the moment, but don't stay in the celebration too long. What matters is how you follow up when you get there. Okay? And I say that to say this. There's a big difference between the career of Buster Douglas and the career of Floyd Mayweather Jr.
Absolutely.
Celebrating the moment will only cost you to take another loss right after it. If you celebrate, if you stay in the celebration like Andy Ruiz did against Anthony Joshua.
Correct.
And you saw it because when he fought him the second time, he was way out of shape.
Came in so 35 pounds heavier than the first fight.
That means he celebrated too much. So I encourage people, if you get that opportunity to experience success in any industry, by the way, don't celebrate too long because of that one moment. It's okay to celebrate. It's okay to cheer on your team and everybody, but don't go back and regroup and say, let's continue. Let's continue to grow from here. How do we take it to the next level?
Stop there for a second because I want to highlight something you said a little earlier because I think it's very, very important for anybody listening to this. Paris Davis, he's betting on something that he knows. He knows in his heart, in his soul. Like you said, you were not Rodney Jerkins at that moment. You were not this big internationally known producer at this moment, but he knew he had something special. And he didn't just say, okay, the label doesn't know it and I might lose my job behind it and I'm betting on this guy, might have some serious repercussions. When you know you have it, when you know something is right, a closed mouth do not get fed. You have to go and you have to, because I remember even in my own career, when I knew something was right or we should be doing something, I was standing on tables, I was begging, listen, y'all have to hear me. So I love the fact that you brought up about Paris, that he went in and he fought for you, even though the upper echelon of the company did not yet know who you was and what your potential was. So that's number one. Number two is a great point. I was going to bring it up later in the interview, but we might as well talk about it now. There's been no scandals with you. You have been so consistently hitting it out the park. And I have watched artist after artist, producer after producer, songwriter after songwriter. They all, or not going to say all, but most of them have something in common. They get to that thing that they have always fought for. And finally, when they get that successful hit record, it don't, in your case, it went number one, but for them, it's just a hit record. It gets them in the clubs. You know, it gets them VIP now that they're being invited to parties they've never been to before. And they just celebrate too much and they don't understand.
So let me tell you, so the boys' mind, we've been in this COVID-19, would you say like 3 months, probably something like that?
Yep.
The boys' mind was number one for pretty much 3 months. So as long as we've been, imagine having a number one on Billboard for the whole COVID-19 so far, right? It was pretty much 3 months, so something like 12 weeks or something like 11 or 12 weeks, or 13 weeks actually. It's 13 weeks. So you can only imagine the egos growing inside of people, right? Including myself, growing inside of our team, our camp, the Darkchild crew, Brandy calling the 10 weeks. Can you believe we're still 10 weeks, still number one? Like, it's a lot. The label doing things. I'm experiencing things I never experienced before, where Craig Cowman is getting me the penthouse suite at the Peninsula in New York and getting anything that we want for our crew and taking us to the fanciest. All these things started happening very fast, as you can imagine. You're getting calls from now all the executives that may not have checked for you 2 months ago. I'm not talking about A&R exec. I'm talking about the actual chairmen of companies, right? And which is another thing I'll talk about later. Being smart and building relationships is key to everything, and it also helps with longevity. And I remember one day walking in the studio, and I had my whole team, my writers, my engineer, we all come in the studio, and everybody just feeling themselves like, yo, we number one. It's 12 weeks. And I looked at everybody. I was like, yo, okay, the party's over. And everybody looked at me like, huh? My brother everybody's like, yo, we got to follow up. We got to follow up. Like this, okay, we got here now. Y'all don't want it to go away. Now we got to follow up. We got the attention of the industry. We got the attention of radio, but we got to follow up. So now it's time. We got to go harder. Y'all thought I was crazy before this. Y'all really gonna think, because I never slept. So y'all really think I was not sleeping. Now you really about to experience why I don't sleep. And from that moment, we went crazy, bro.
I love that you said that.
We went crazy. Like there was times where like you could come roll to our studio and see the lights on at 3 a.m. and come back at 8 o'clock in the morning. The lights still on, come back. Like it was go time. It wasn't no playing around, because my whole mentality was we got to follow up. You can't just jab somebody and not throw that hook. So let me ask you this.
How scared are you in this moment? Or is it just pure adrenaline? You just so confident at this point. You know, yo, I brought home a championship. I know I can do this again. And then I know I can three-peat.
Adrenaline. My adrenaline was rushing, and my brain was full of ideas. So you're not the fear of losing it that's nowhere in this scenario right here. No,
it's strictly adrenaline.
I had no fear, but I had ideas, right? And my ideas was, I knew that I had developed my sound. Mm-hmm. Like I knew the boy's mind sonically. I had found something that was far gone from early New Jack Swing, far gone from what I was doing with Diddy and Gina Thompson and all of that. Doesn't even sound like Mary. I was real good at giving an artist a sound, right? But still staying true to my sound. I knew I found something. And so I was like, and I knew what it was. So the idea was like, okay, in order for this sound to go around the world, because you got to remember, I wasn't an artist, so producers were still artists. Correct. A lot of producers were still artists. That's why you knew them. I had to start stamping my stuff. I started saying Darkchild. I started tagging it so people would know that I did it.
I was gonna ask you where that name come from.
That was my way to brand it. That was my way to branding myself on records, and I had the artist do it, or I would do it, whatever. But let me tell you what happened though. So the idea was this: if I just give this sound to one artist, it won't translate around the whole world the way I need it to. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So like if I gave just that sound to Brandy and it does really well, like the Boy's Mind does really well, that doesn't mean the Boy's Mind does really well in Puerto Rico. So who can I work with that's gonna make that sound translate in Puerto Rico? And here comes Jennifer Lopez. Who's gonna make that sound translate in an older demographic, but in a diva form, and the biggest greatest female artist that I've ever worked with of all time, Whitney Houston? Who can I give this sound to that's used to doing ballads, and we know her as ballads all the time? Toni Braxton. Who can I give this sound to? You think what I'm saying? So, and now what happens is I have an army of people taking my sound and pushing it all around the world. I have an army. They don't even know they're my army.
Absolutely.
They don't even know they literally, all these artists are pushing this sound, and it's going all around the world. And so now people are saying we need a Darkchild sound all around the world. Even when I go to London to work with the Spice Girls, I go all over the world. I go to Japan, where people don't even know I had one of the biggest songs in Japan by an artist named Hikari Utada. And we did 10 million on it. Like, people don't even know that. And it wasn't even English, it was all Japanese. But that's what happened. The army went out, and as these songs grew with all these incredible artists, it allowed that sound to grow around the world.
I should have asked you this earlier. When did you get your first big check? And I'm talking about that life-changing check.
So you're talking about not a producer fee check. You're talking about like the publishing
something where when you got the check, you had to stop and you had to think to yourself, I'm a kid from Atlantic City, New Jersey. Never in my wildest dreams did I think I would be holding a piece of paper with this many zeros on it and my name. Where did that check come into play?
I think that happened when I did my deal with Tommy Mottola.
So
when
that's
I did
Jennifer Lopez?
I had, yeah. So what happened was I had a publishing deal when I was 17 years old, and it was a beautiful deal. Check was lovely or whatever. I was able to do things for my parents that, you know, I wanted to do, but I didn't look at that as like, oh, that changed my life. It changed our circumstance.
Correct.
It changed our circumstance. But when Tommy Mottola, when I met with him to do a deal with Sony, and he offered me a deal, that was the deal that I think that was the check that made me say, oh, whoa, wow, this hard work really done paid off. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, this is crazy.
That would to stop you in your tracks for a second.
Yeah, definitely stopped me in my tracks, and you know, and hey, but you know what? I could say it was worth it, right?
Definitely worth it.
For them, it was worth it, meaning the check that they gave was worth it. Or I could also say maybe I undervalue myself.
Really?
Well, there's two ways to look at it.
As big as that check was.
Yeah, because there's two ways to look at it, right? When you get those big checks, the checks are so big, that check is so big, you didn't take into account what the real value is. No one really did a valuation. You didn't treat it like a business and do a proper valuation. If I would have been who I am now, and I would have did a proper valuation, that check should have been probably 3 or 4 times bigger than what it was.
Wow.
Technically.
Wow.
They might have barked at him like, nah, we're not definitely doing that. But based off the success of Jennifer Lopez, If You Had My Love, based off the success of Destiny's Child, Say My Name, based off the success of Rock My World by Michael Jackson, then I could argue that that check should have been much bigger. You feel what I'm saying? So like, I know what those billings look like for those records. I know what those records sold and all that, but I never get upset at that part because that's not who I am. I appreciate it. I look at everything as a blessing. I'm like, in that time of my life, that was a huge blessing. That was a huge opportunity to help push my career further. And another thing I will say, I'm gonna go back to this. After that check, I ain't celebrate.
Because okay. I think you're going where I want to take you.
What I'm saying is, I could have celebrated.
Excuse me?
What I'm saying is, people that get checks like that, they might go to an island for like 2 weeks to a month and relax. I've always had a mentality, as soon as I get a check, I'm working harder. I still have the same.
Where does that come from?
I have the same.
This is something with so many people. We watch it with professional athletes. They win a championship. They finally get that belt that they've been working for, and they celebrate. How did you not do what so many musicians, artists, songwriters do, which is go get high, binge out somewhere, lose your mind, get caught up with 50,000 women? How did you stay so focused? Is that, and you keep mentioning your dad in this interview. Is it your upbringing from your parents? Is it just you were just that extremely motivated? Like, where does this self-discipline come from? And please break it down, because somebody is on the verge of getting that life-changing check. And if you can give them any advice to keep them focused, please do.
Yeah, I think a couple of things is definitely the upbringing makes the huge difference. It made the difference in my life, right? It definitely made the difference in having that, knowing where that cornerstone was in my life, and knowing what that meant, and knowing what to turn to, and knowing that to do things in the right way, tithe and all those different things.
You do tithe?
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Oh, I'm so happy you said that. Oh,
yeah, 100%. If I had to say that I had an inch of fear in those moments, the fear would be the fear to lose. It was never a fear a doubt in my music. It was never a fear or doubt in my music. The fear would be if I celebrated too long and did that, then someone else would come up and creep up and take what I've been working so hard for. That would be the fear. So
you were worried about protecting your spot.
There you go.
You worked so hard to get there. I'm in the #1 spot right now. I cannot take my foot off the gas for a second, because if I do, there's another young, hungry Rodney Jerkins right behind me. And if he get that if he catch me slipping for a second, now he got the #1 spot.
I've seen it happen to producers. I won't name names, but I've seen it happen to songwriters, where I've literally had this conversation with a songwriter one time who was hot as fire, like literally running the game. And and then that writer said he wanted to be an artist. And I said, don't do it. Now's not the time. Don't do it. And nah, I just got my deals. I was like, nah, you on fire. So I keep pushing on the writing side. And soon as he went in the studio to focus on his artistry, another writer started working with all those artists that he was just working on, and it flipped. So I've always had that thing in the back of my mind, like someone's always coming for the spot. Someone's always coming for the title. So I love boxing. I love sports. So I always use analogies of boxing. Like, they always going to be someone training in the gym even harder than you are. Mm-hmm. You think you're training harder, and if you're celebrating, you're definitely not training harder. So somebody's going to come up on you. So you got to work even harder to protect that spot and evolve and keep it pushing. So that's where I think my thing has always been that, and it still kind of is that, like, yo, if I get a check or something that is great and that does well for myself and my family, then I need to work harder. You know what I mean? I never forget, Jimmy Iovine told me this one time. Jimmy Iovine said, I had told Jimmy, I had did a deal with Jimmy, and I was renting a house, and he says, how you going? I said, I got this crib that I'm renting now. He said, oh, yes, house music. I love it. I love house music. He said to me. And I looked at him and I said, huh? He goes, I love when producers get a house. When they get a house, they got to work harder to pay that house, pay off that house. He said, so I love house music. That's the way he called it house music.
Got you.
Yeah, because you don't want to leave as you grow. As you grow, you don't want to get evicted from the house you in. You don't want to leave the house that you got your family in. You know what I mean? You want to keep growing. So I always look at that the same way, man. I'm like, man, it's time to tear this down. It's time to keep going. Like, it ain't no time to relax right now. We're not in relax season. You know what I mean? And so I encourage young producers, like I tell them all the time, man, you just gotta keep going. Don't stop until you find it. Keep going. Keep looking. You're gonna catch that sound. You're gonna catch that wave, but you got to go after it.
Do you ever experience writer's block or just creativity block where you just can't make a beat?
I've only experienced it like once or twice, and
all these years,
and my whole career, and I've learned how to come out of it.
Okay,
I've learned how to come out of it.
Why don't you speak to that? Because maybe there's a young producer who's watching this, or a veteran producer who's watching it, who just, they're stuck.
It's the ultimate power move. If you stuck in your creativity and you feel like it's just not flowing, and you have like a writer's block and the creativity is not flowing, you have to tap into your creator. So the ultimate power move is the power of prayer. That's the ultimate power move.
I love the ultimate power move. The ultimate power move. And this is Power Move Makers right here. And you are the supreme power move maker. But the ultimate power move is the power of prayer.
Yeah, it's the only thing that I believe that can change something just like that. It can change the situation, change a scenario just like that. You can't do that on your own, but I believe prayer can do that. So whenever I've gotten to that funk where it's just like, dang, I ain't got it today. Like sometimes then I got to get on my knees because I'm not tapped in right with my creator. Because I don't believe I should have writer's block. If I'm tapped in, I should never have that. So that just means that either I need to humble myself for a minute and take RJ out the equation for a second and put God first in it. And usually when I do that, every time that I've done that, I'm back on like whoop, right away. Like yeah, that's the ultimate power move, man.
Okay. I love this, and that will be a segment. I got a lot of segments I'll be pulling out of this interview. Moving it along, because I know we're short on time. Who's your favorite artist? Looking back over your entire career, your entire catalog, who is your favorite artist to work with?
That's a terrible question to ask me because there's so many great artists, you know, but if I had to choose one, it would be Michael Jackson.
Why?
The GOAT, the greatest of all time. The artist that pushed me to the limit that I didn't know existed. I didn't know I could be pushed. The artist that that would tell me to leave the egos outside the door and create and push me in a way. I always say Michael Jackson helped me in a way that no other artist helped me. I was so used to working with artists and giving them a sound and keeping it moving and going to the next art and getting it moving. This was the first artist that had a conversation with me and pushed me. It was the first artist.
Because I need to paint this picture.
When I started working Mike, I was 21.
So you're 21, 22. I was
21, just about to turn 22.
Okay. You, any of us, you get that call working with Michael Jackson, that's just different. You done reached the top of Mount Olympus. What is that?
21, at 21, by the way, like I'm not, like technically I probably would have just been graduating college, maybe.
Okay.
Right? So
Did
that's
he
like.
push you? Did he push you like the minute that you walked in that door?
Oh yeah. Like my first, now I got to set it up because you got to understand how God works in all of this, right? Because this stuff be sounding like a fairy tale, but it's 100% real and it's 100% truth, and it's the reason why I'm here and the reason why I know it's my purpose. I'm on my mom and dad's couch, and at that time I don't live with them anymore. I'm on my own, of course, but I'm over their house, and I fall asleep on that couch in South Jersey, and I had this dream, and in the dream, I saw this glass studio, and I looked through the glass and I could see it was Michael Jackson. I saw that red shirt that he always wore through the glass. And I had this dream and it was him in the glass with this red shirt on. And that's all I saw. And I woke up. Not even a few hours later, the phone rings. And there's a legendary songwriter on the other line by the name of Carol Bear Sager. She wrote Reach Out and Touch Someone's Hand. She wrote The Prayer. She wrote so many like big songs back in the day. Her husband back in the day was Burt Bacharach. So catalog is crazy. And she calls me and she says, "Hi, Rodney. I don't even know who she is really." She's like, "I'm a big fan of yours. I love Say My Name." So she said Say My Name was popping at the time. "I love Say My Name. It's my favorite song." And it was a Monday afternoon. And she goes, "I would love it if you would come to LA. Would you like to come to Los Angeles to write for Michael Jackson?" I'm like, what?
This is a couple of hours after you just had this dream.
I just had this dream. I just had a dream. I think I told her too. I'm like, I just had a dream. I saw Michael Jackson in the studio in the glass in my dream. She said, "So you'll come?" I said, "Yeah." I said, when do you want me there?" She goes, "Well, I got to call him to try to set it up, but I would love for you to come." I said, "Okay, well, I'll be ready. I'll be ready." And in that moment, I hung up the phone with her. I booked myself a ticket to LA. I got on the plane that night. I checked myself in the hotel room, and I just stayed in the hotel room for the next few days waiting for her to call me again. She called me. I let her know, of course, that I was in LA now. She called me on Thursday morning, and she said, can you come to my home today for a writing session with myself and Michael? I go to her home in Bel Air, and as I'm pulling up the driveway, she has a guest house studio to the left, and I see a red shirt through the glass. And I'm like, and man, in that moment, man, I kind of teared up. I ain't gonna front, man. I ain't gonna be all hard because we on your show, bro. I kind of teared up and was like, God, you too real to me, man. You too, like, your presence is crazy to me that you would literally show me this 4 days ago. And now I'm here in it. And when I walked in the studio with Michael, I was super nervous at first. Like, my whole swag was different. It's crazy. This dude got, and I worked with Whitney. I worked with everybody. But Michael's presence was completely different. And we talked a while, and then I started playing the piano, and I wasn't really set up to do tracks the way I do. It was more so like me on the piano. She had a guest at her piano, and we was writing. And then I looked at Michael and I said, man, I would love to continue to work on ideas for you. And he goes, I would love that. What do you need? He said, what do you need? I said, man, I just need a studio out here, and I need to have my crew out here with me. And he goes, done. And all I know is, like, the next day, my whole team was flown out, and he gave us this studio, and I locked in with him for like 2 years straight. Like, I never looked down. I locked in with two years straight. Man, like, it was the most amazing.
So you really had the opportunity to know and work with Michael.
Mike was the homie. I took Mike. I rode Michael around Manhattan in my Bentley with the top down. Picked him up from his crib in Manhattan. Called him on the phone and said, I'm outside. He said, what are you doing? I said, come on, we're gonna take a ride. He said, where are we going? I said, we're just gonna take a ride. I want you to hear Hot 97. I just want to take you around the city. He goes, okay, let me go get my security guard. I said, no security guards, just you and I. He hopped in the Bentley, and at first he looks timid, like he never did this. And then he get in the Bentley. I turned on Hot 97. I never get what came on. It was the Ja Rule and Janet Blackstreet record or whatever. It comes on the radio, and he turns it up, and we ride down, and he's going crazy in the passenger seat like this as we ride through Manhattan.
Is that one of your fondest memories of him?
Nah, my fondest memory was him calling my house up. I'm in South Jersey. He's in his apartment in New York, and he calls my house up like 9 o'clock at night and says, I was wondering if your mother would make me some peach cobbler.
Get out of here.
Yeah, because we used to talk about his mom cooking and my mom cooking, and I was like, I was like, my mom makes a cold peach cobbler. He was like, that's my favorite dessert. and so he calls like 9 o'clock and he says, can your mom make me some peach cobbler? And I said, yeah, I could tell her to make some peach cobbler. I said, well, you want me to bring it up tomorrow or whatever? He's like, no, I want it now. And I was like, Mike, I live like 2.5 hours away from the city. It's like 9 o'clock right now. It'll be 11:30, 12. I said, by the time she makes it be past midnight. He said, no, don't come. I'll come to you. Give me the address. And I gave him the address. Called my mom. My mom can't just make peach cobbler. She had to make the whole dinner, the whole nine. Next thing you know, it's me, my family, my crew, all of us at my crib with Michael at like 2 o'clock in the morning, his kids, and we eating peach cobbler and dinner.
Are you serious?
Playing video games, playing pool, yeah.
Please tell me you got some video, behind the scene photos or something of that moment.
Of course, but I can't, got all of that. But listen, man, I can say this. There's many moments, many stories like that I could tell of Michael, right? But the thing that stood out to me more than anything was him pushing me and teaching me while he pushed me. He taught me things about the publishing business that I didn't know and didn't understand. He taught me so much. I always say, like, man, I got a little bit of Michael, Barry, Gordy, and Quincy all in one because he got them, so I got them too. Yep. But he pushed, bro. Like, he was different with the push. Michael would be on the phone 3:30 in the morning, be like, play me a beat at 3:30. I'd be like, I'm at the house. He'd be like, go to the studio. Get up, go to the studio, play a beat. And Mike listened to it on the phone and be like, can you turn the hi-hats down 2 dBs?
Hold on. Over the phone? He could hear a hi-hat over the phone.
Mike could do stuff. Mike could do stuff. If you ever watched the This Is It, I don't know if you watched that or if anybody watched that.
I did.
Mike would have dancers behind him and tell them they off without even looking at him. He'd be like, "You to the left, you off." You remember that, right?
Yeah.
You all so and so. He felt stuff differently, man. In the studio, he was just different. He recorded vocals like he was on stage. Like he was on stage. It would be times that he would like get lost in the moment, and he would dance for like 2 minutes straight in the booth. He would just start dancing, and you'd be like, "This is crazy. Oh, Michael Jackson is like giving me a concert right now." So I had to keep my sanity in a way of staying confident as the producer and not becoming such the fan. Right, because he literally made me his engineer at the time. When we worked in New York, there was no engineer. I had to push all the buttons. I had to learn all that stuff on the fly. So it was like so I was in the moment, was like, yo, and then he would jump into like Michael on stage, and I'd be like, oh, whoa, you know what I'm saying? And then okay, we got to get back to recording though. You know what I'm saying? So all of these things played out, and then he was the most giving artist that I ever worked with. He was like, yo, why don't you take a break and take your whole team and whoever you want to invite, why don't you go to Neverland and have a ball? And I like literally had a bus pick up all my friends, and we all went, and like, I mean, Neverland was like going to Disneyland, right? Everything's there you can imagine. Like it was an incredible amusement park. And we had it to ourselves. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah, 2 o'clock in the morning, bumper car rides, music blasted, you know what I mean? Like just anything you wanted. Like, it was amazing, man. Like working with him was it was different, bro. It was different. Yeah.
So he's definitely.
I miss Michael. I miss the person. You know what I mean? That person that I miss the conversations. I miss the moments of when the world was going against him and he felt the world was totally against him. I remember him calling and say, "I just need you to pray for me." And I remember him calling and say, "Can you call your dad and can you call him and get him on the 3-way? I want him to pray for me." I remember all of these moments when he was going through that trial period in 2003. And I just need prayer. I need prayer. Like, so you got to understand, I knew a different Michael. I didn't know what I started to know Michael Jackson, the person, and not just the artist.
The human being.
Yeah, the human being, man. And he was a great heart. The dude had a heart of gold, bro. Like, he was sincere, like a real sincere guy who had a heart of gold, but had a love and passion for music and winning that's out of this world. Out of this world. And you like, why? You've accomplished everything. There's nothing for you to accomplish. Nothing. And he would say stuff that you'd be like tripping off, and he'd be like, I have to sell 1 billion albums. I have to sell 1 billion.
So even at that level,
1 billion albums? Like
Michael Jackson is top of the charts, top of the world. He's a living icon. And he still had that competitive spirit that it ain't over. I got to do better than Thriller. I got to do better than.
How about this? How about there was so many times where I would walk into the lounge and he would literally be studying Jackie Wilson, James Brown. And I'd be like, "What you doing, Mike?" And he'd be like, "I'm studying." And I'm like, "You studying? Like, you don't got to study no more." He said, "You never get too old for studying." Like, those nuggets stick with me. And that's why I study to this day. Because what the thing, you know what I mean? I saw all of that. I saw it, man. Firsthand, I saw it.
Just before we wrap this thing, and I'm great that you put a humanity around Michael Jackson, the icon, because there's so many stories and there's so much that has been in the press about him. I love the fact that you took a moment to really just bring us into who this man was as a human being. So I thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
Do you know, you're working with Michael, you're working with so many people. Do you know, I'll go back one step further. When you're creating, when you're in your dad's basement, or wherever you create? Do you know when you have a hit?
I don't think anybody knows when they have a hit. You can have a feeling. Like, you know, like I've had feelings where I'm like, yo, this feels like it's going to be one of them ones. You know, we talk about this. Like, you know, we think, we got one. You know, when you're like, we got one.
You do know that?
Yeah, because it resonates in your soul, in your spirit, in your heart. Something's different is happening. Now, you still got to wait to see if the world is going to react to the way you reacted to
Mm-hmm.
it. You don't make music for yourself. You make music for everybody else. But in my moments, I've been able to call a lot of my hits in my moments.
You have been.
In my moments for sure. I've definitely been in moments in the studio where it's like, I got another one. Like I feel it. Like you feel it differently. It's a certain feeling that takes over you. Again, goes back to what I was saying. You know it's standing out. You know it's standing out. You might have did 3 beats today. You might have did 5 beats today. You might have did 10 beats all week, but there's this one that's hitting differently. It's doing something different.
Okay, did you ever make a beat, write a song, and you were like, it's good, it's sellable, but it turned out to be a monster?
Oh, yeah, wow. Let me give you one story, and this is and what turned out to be a monster that took me to get out of my own way and challenge myself. I had just got back from London working with the Spice Girls. My first session, and let me take that over. I'm in London working with the Spice Girls. My last day, they want to go to a club. They take me to a club that night. There's a DJ playing a style called UK Garage, 2-step music.
Yep.
The rhythms, I never heard those rhythms. I'm from South Jersey. I don't know what that is. So when I hear it, I'm like, yo, this is crazy. It's fast, it's moving, it's tempo, people going crazy in the club. So my idea, I'm like, I'm taking this back to the States. So I go up to the DJ and I say, yo, can you make me a CD of all of these sounds? I love these sounds. And he goes, yeah. He drops the CD off to my spot. I get on the plane. I had a Walkman on. I'm listening to all of these UK Garage sounds, and I'm getting super inspired. Like, I'm going to bring this back to America. This is going to be my next sound. I'm about to change the game again. I get to America in a session. My first session when I get back is with Destiny's Child. We all in the studio, and LaShawn Daniels, God rest his soul, he was on the phone with his baby mama at the time, and they were arguing about something, and he said, just say my name. Say my name, there's nobody's there. Say my name. And I was like, yo, get off the phone, Stizzy, get off the phone. That's the song, let's go. And we went in the studio, and I cooked up this beat, which was UK Garage. It was very up-tempo, very fast, very distracting, a lot going on. It wasn't that it was genius. It was probably really bad because I wasn't from the UK and I hadn't studied it long enough to understand exactly what they were doing, right? But I thought I did. I thought it was dope. Mm-hmm. So when Destiny's Child walks in to hear the song, they're liking the song, but they're not really reacting to the beat. But they go in the booth and they sing the song. Matthew knows, the whole crew, they didn't like the beat. The label, nobody liked the beat. I'm like, y'all are tripping. This is going to change the world. This is a new sound. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. This is going to, and I'm like, yo, they don't even know what this is. They don't even know what this is. This is the next sound. I'm really trying to sell it. Fast forward to it's time to mix the song. I'm in the studio with John Marie Horvat, the engineer. I walk in to mix the song. He presses play. I listen to it one time down, and I look at John Marie and I go, oh, this joint is whack. He said, what? I was like, I don't feel it. He's like, what you mean? I was like, I think I understand what they talk about. Like, this beat is distracting. It's horrible. And he goes, what do you want to do? I was like, I'm going to go to the Beverly Center. I'll be back in like 3 or 4 hours. When I get back, I don't want to hear anything but the vocals. I don't want to hear. I went back to 17-year-old Rodney, the remix Rodney. And I said, let me remix my own joint. And so when I walked back in, fresh ears, all I heard was a cappella. and then I redid the track. And that track is what you hear today. That track won me the Grammy. That track ended up helping them to sell somewhat like 16 million albums or something, right? So sometimes you got to get out your own way for something to be successful. I was in my own way, my own feelings in the beginning, but then I took a step back and listened to it, and also took the advice of people without them even knowing. In that moment, it wasn't like I was on the phone with them, but I said, man, too many people said this was wrong. I'm not right this time. I'm not right this time. It's time to redo this. And that was that moment, man. And that became one of my favorite productions, favorite stories of my whole career, because I know what it was and what it became. You know what I mean? I know what I love
the fact that you had humility in that moment to accept that maybe I don't know it all. To accept the fact that, look, everybody can't be saying the same thing and I'm right. No, sometimes you got to take a step back and get out of your own way and understand, look, if everybody is telling you that this thing walk like a duck, quack like a duck, and I'm calling it a chicken, nah, everybody can't be wrong.
By the way, it wouldn't have been a single if I would have left it the way it was.
Wow.
It was the third single. It was the third single off that record. It wouldn't have been a single with that track. I'll stand by that. It would not have been a single.
And won you Grammy.
And if it would have been a single, it would have bricked.
To this moment, and this is my last question for you. What do you consider your greatest achievement? Maybe we stumbled on it with Michael.
My production, my greatest production of all time is by far my 4 children. My two boys and 2 girls. That's my greatest production. When I look in their eyes and I see myself and their mother, that's my greatest production, because that's the gift that's gonna keep giving. Musically, I don't know. I can't tell you that. I don't feel like I've done it yet. Put it like that. I got to keep going. I still got a long way to go.
Do you ever go back and listen to any of your music?
Recently, I've been listening to some stuff just because, you know, people have been talking about verses and the battles and all that stuff. So recently, I went back and like pulled up some stuff just to listen and you know, see. I try not to stay in that, because I don't want to ever feel like I'm in a shrine or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to keep evolving and you got to keep on thinking about what's next. And that's how you have longevity. So I'm completely honored and blessed to have the career that I had, but I feel like there's still so much more left in the tank. Yes, and there's movies to do and there's TV shows to do. It's like Quincy set the bar too high for us to be satisfied.
Woo! That's right.
Yeah.
That is so right. Yeah. If anybody listening or watching this, where can they find you?
You find me at Rodney Jerkins. Oh, that's my handle, at Rodney Jerkins. And
that across all platforms?
All platforms.
Rodney, it has been my honor. It has been my pleasure. I love the fact that you were so transparent and you were so giving in this interview. You are a true power move maker. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, my brother. God bless.
I appreciate you, brother.
All right, bro.
What's up, guys? Thanks for sticking with me to the end of the video. Truly appreciate you. If you like anything you heard here today, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you know anybody that can benefit from this message, feel free to share. Peace and love.